hopefully I try. Successful. We are live. We're going to be breaking down, if you're rewatching this, we're going to be breaking down what is El Nino. What is it going to mean for us here around the world and the atmosphere, and specifically, of course, the U.S. And we're going to look at some of the long-range stuff and what it could mean. And we're going to be looking at basically everything you can kind of imagine in a more nuanced view. It's a chance to get away from a bunch of that fear-mongering stuff. Yes, just because this is potentially, very likely, going to be a historic event in terms of all other El Ninos, it doesn't mean, can't still do a nuanced approach to breaking down. So that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to take a minute here. If you are rewatching this, I am planning on putting timestamps on this so you can easier navigate, and we'll go from there. All right, let me get the links out, wait for everybody to tune in, and let's break this bad boy down. Give me a second here to get this out in the link. Okay. Alright, getting there. It's been a minute, so I knew there was going to be some technical stuff that wasn't always going to go the most smoothly, but we're here now. Get this chat open here. Hello, Chase. How are you doing? Well, I kind of want this to go in a loop. Just confirm that the audio is confirm the audio is good as well for sick of the heat and humidity. Yeah, well, you are not alone in that, let me tell you. Let's get pin this here. Oh, it is pinned already. All right, got it. See if I full screen this. I'm not gonna be able to use the pen tool if I full screen this, but we'll be all right. Again, a reminder: if you don't mind liking the stream before we're about to start here in a second. So if you don't mind liking the stream, sharing it is always helpful. Commenting, chatting, super chats are always welcome. Channel memberships are still available for those interested. I only mention because, well, it's important if you want to actually grow it. So I figure I do that. It's confirmed the audio is good as well for those viewing. If you don't mind when you do tune in, just let me know that the audio is good and working. I'm going to assume it is. Hopefully I'm not breaking up too much at all. And we'll get going here. So first I'll say is I did create all of these graphics that you're going to see in this. We're testing out new graphics. Again, for anyone curious, I've still been active. I just haven't been posting live streams. I've been posting videos. The community tab, always check the community tab. You're always going to get a lot of content through the community tab, whether it's severe weather, hurricane season, all that stuff. Hurricane season, when there is some active periods, we'll explain why it won't be the most active. We'll have content out for you there. Great, Chase. That's fantastic. Thank you. So when it comes to what is El Nino is basically it's Spanish for the boy, Niño. La Niña is the girl, right? I believe it actually comes from the Peruvian fishermen, I think. I actually searched this up at some point. They kind of just noticed the waters were warmer. And so, off the coast of Peru, right, off the coast of South America. And so they just named it the boy. So that is where it came from initially. But the reason why you have Nino is El Nino happens when it's warmer water. So I'll let this play out. Hopefully it doesn't lag too bad. Should be okay. And so what happens is it's the warmer period versus La Nina is the cooler period that we're measuring across the equator line here. You see in the tropical Pacific. Again, I created this graphic. I made it myself. These are all uploaded to YouTube. Will probably be made private again, but are just out there, so I can access them more easier. Apparently, I still can't view my private videos from my own channel. But let's see. Oh no, I can't. Used to changing it from here, but if I go back to here, you notice typically, and then in a neutral setup is. Meaning neutral just means is when the ENSO period, or the ENSO region, which is this region here, you can see we have regions 1 and 2, 3, 3.4, and 4. Those are the typical regions across the ENSO region that we like to look at when we're forecasting and breaking down El Nino. So, or La Nina, or neutral. But neutral just means it's usually less than 0.5 degrees in that relative. They have a new relative Nino index, but typically around the 3.4 region is where we're going to look. So right in here across the central Pacific is where we're typically going to look when it comes to this. But if we transition here a little bit, what you'll notice is typically those trade winds, right? They like to work east to west, right? We see it across the in the Atlantic hurricane season. They like to work east to west. But when they start to reverse, that is when we start getting El Nino. So we get those westerly wind bursts, and we'll have more graphics for those. Those westerly wind bursts take place in effect, and they start either slowing down or reversing the trade winds, so that this warmer water here, Western Pacific, starts to expand across the ENSO region, which you can see here. You see how it breaks it down. We'll go to this graphic here. I missed the winter streams, but definitely wanted to check this out. I will have winter mentions as well, and I do have kind of a hot take for next winter already. I think there's a lot of lack of nuance when it comes to this. And we're going to break down why I think some of the context, the talk you're seeing about there, but it's good to have you in here, Celtic Supreme. Why some of the context of how this is being talked about, I think is completely, not ridiculous, but just way too generalized. way too generalized. This is going to provide a nuanced approach to everything, but still explain it, I think, really clearly as well at the same time. Obviously, I like to ramble sometimes, but I think this will explain it clearly. So, again, La Nina typically when it's cooler, but when those warmer anomalies, right? So when those typically when you start going above 0.5 and more, that's when it gets pretty impressive, or not pretty impressive, but more so El Nino, and it has to happen typically. At least over a several month period of time. That's why we finally officially got our first El Nino advisory. Actually, this morning while I was finishing out the graphics. And so this gives you a little perspective. Again, what is El Nino? Again, it's just we're looking at the region here across the equatorial Pacific, the equator line. And usually you go, I forget exactly how many meters again off the top of my head, or 5 degrees. I think it's 5 degrees north and south of the equator line, not meters. And so this is the region we're looking at. Warmer water from the Western Pacific is being dislodged into the Eastern Pacific, and we'll break down some more in depth of what actually is going on to help create that. So that was my first one. Let's go back here. The videos, and we'll go to the second scene, and I'll show you what is happening here. Interesting. Looking forward to it. I'm glad to see a live stream from you again. Yeah. My long COVID recovery journey has been really rough. It's been really rough, but I'm trying to keep myself busy, do what I can to still get some content out to you guys, and also I enjoy this, so I've been getting interested in it in terms of how it's going to affect next winter, but also just in general for hurricane season and severe weather as well. So the thing about this time is the reason why it's not always the same every single year is you got to remember the background state prior. We were in a La Nina earlier this year. Now we transitioned to a neutral ENSO phase. We transitioned to neutral, I think, towards the mid to latter part of the winter or spring, somewhere. Right, we were just a La Nina. We were in a weak La Nina transitioning to a now El Nino. So, like I was talking about, this graphic better explains here, right? Those easterly trade winds moving from east to west have pretty notable impact. And then what we do see is this westerly wind burst then start to overtake. And so what we've been happening here is with the MJO, again, Matt and Julian oscillation, almost said that with like Julian oscillation. What we do tend to see now is that we're shifting those Kelvin waves now, downwelling Kelvin waves. All that means, I'm sure you've seen that talk, a downwelling Kelvin wave means we're looking here across the Pacific, those westerly wind bursts help create downwelling Kelvin waves, meaning it's just pushing that, it's helping push that warmer water deeper into the Pacific, and we'll get into the next graphic, which will better explain what I'm talking about, and showing that it drives the thermocline down, and we'll explain all what that is in the next scene here, showing that it's more than just what happens at the surface. We measure what happens at the surface, but what happens below the surface is a big indicator for how strong and how long, and the changes that we could see in terms of El Nino. But when we get these, the reason why is here in La Nina, when we have these trade winds working from east to west, more notably, it allows upwelling to be more prevalent across the Pacific, and allows those cooler waters to rise a little bit easier to the surface. So that's why we see cooler sea surface temperature anomalies across this area of the Pacific. Versus El Nino, we see warmer waters, warmer than usual waters. And again, these vary, these cycle. It's not every year is an El Nino, not every year is La Nina. It's not, it doesn't need to be, I'm sure there's statistically in the other. Again, if you hear me stutter at times, it's I have brain fog thought process as fast as it used to, unfortunately, in terms of getting out my thoughts. So if I do take time to get to the points, please with me. I'm recovering from severe long COVID, so 5+ months in now. So we're getting there, but made some improvements, but we got some work to do. So please bear with me and just some personal stuff there, if you don't mind. Occasional stutters or loss of train of thought at times. Bear with me. But yeah, and I completely forgot my train of thought before then. But basically, El Nino is now happening. It's now happening. It's official. We transition from La Niña to neutral to now El Nino. We are in, and the question we're going to be figuring out is just basically how strong. And you can see there on the last scene, I want to show you that too. See how the atmosphere responds, right? We get warmer water that basically those tropical thunderstorms that rise up that air, it shifts more east, which can, again, we're talking about those trade winds weakening, meaning these winds across the Pacific here, and they help reinforce basically the El Nino, which just graphic I made, and I think cool. Hopefully not lagging too bad on your end, but I really enjoyed the product. It took a lot of work. To put these things. But again, also these are not AI generated. I used AI to help with the code and figure that out. But these are through CodePen. I made all these myself with the help of good old ChatGPT to make sure the code would work and help do some of the lifting, because I'm not a coding expert, but try my best. Now, what did I mean by when I was talking about the thermocline? So basically, the thermocline is just there's this line right here, which helps show the colder water versus the warmer water. And so this is a very cool. Again, we're looking at this region here in the equatorial Pacific, or ENSO region, and what happens is here that warm water that is below the ocean across the western Pacific, it kind of starts to build below the surface as well. That starts to push east, and what happens is it allows that thermocline to drop. You see that? You see that process? The thermocline then starts to drop below further, so meaning that warmer water, that boundary between that colder and warmer water, starts pushing down further below the surface. Right? Remember we talked about deep ocean heat content? It's very similar to that, basically, where when you have stronger deep ocean heat content, it means that water is working further and further below the surface, and those warmer sea surface temperatures are really pushing their way to the deeper depths of the ocean, which helps support and sustain an El Nino as well. Because you can technically meet El Nino conditions for a small period, but for it to last, you really need a strong subsurface engine, which is the name of the graphic. And so, in order to create that, you can see those easterly, you can see those trade winds weaken, and then boom, those Western Pacific trade winds start to take place and help deepen the thermocline, help build it, so to say. And here, and the reason why in the Eastern Pacific, by the way, too, the reason why this can build so much more is it's a little bit shallower, the water, so it's a little bit easier. You get bigger changes more quickly. That's why we're going to show the eastern region of the El Nino is so much warmer right now than the western region, even though it's a little confusing. Well, the westerly MJO bursts help reinforce that warming of the sea surface temperatures and build that subsurface engine of heat. What that helps create at that point then is just to help throughout the basin make it warmer, but this can react much quicker. It's basically, imagine someone with a hot temper versus someone that stays even keeled, right? It's going to take a lot more to get that person, really amped up, versus the person with a short temper. Boom, you say one thing and they're off running their mouth or whatever. You know, that's kind of an analogy I could provide to explain that why the Eastern Pacific oftentimes can warm so fast. So it's an east leading, and that's not always the case too. It depends on the specifics of the El Nino, but that's why you're seeing such prominent easterly values currently across the Eastern Pacific as we break down El Nino. Will it show me my next one? Nope, I gotta keep going. Keep going back for it. Keep going back. There we go. Boom. And this is where we start tying it into how it starts impacting everything. So again, those tropical these active thunderstorms here across the Western Pacific, they start to shift east a little bit more. Person with a short temper sounds like me. It sounds like the entire online internet community at this point. It seems rather the entire internet. You can't say anything anymore without someone wanting to chime in, and basically comment sections are now just let me find the comment I disagree with the most, and then I'm gonna make sure you know my opinion. So that's what it seems like it's turned into. But I really love this graphic. This one's pretty cool in my opinion. And so those tropical thunderstorms, they help get centered, shift eastward across the eastern and across the ENSO region itself. And then what you've also heard is the Walker circulation. It's basically the Walker circulation is more so just referring to the trade winds, basically. And specifically here across the Pacific, you can see that the Walker circulation gets a bit affected. Okay, so just like we were talking about, those trade winds get suppressed more from the east to the west, and allows easier oftentimes now in the El Nino, these westerly winds. This is a big part of it. These westerly winds, these downwelling Kelvin waves, help force warmer water deeper into the ocean below the surface, and that helps reinforce or build or strengthen in El Nino, and we'll show some of the impacts. Before we go into all the global weather impacts, let me get my pen tool here. This might really heat up the... Hopefully it doesn't drain too fast. Eventually, again, I'm telling you, we're going to be upgrading. We're going to be upgrading the Mac soon. For next winter, the question is, how much money can I save to get new things? So we're gonna go to cyclonic. Boom. And so this is kind of what we're talking about here. You see all this warmer water here in the Western Pacific, not only above average in general, but this water just tends to be. So these are anomalies, but the actual numbers themselves tend to be warmer across this region here in the Western Pacific. So all that tropical convection oftentimes you see out here, it starts to get reinforced more and shift eastward across El Nino, which is why we're going to talk about subtropical jet and why I really think next winter is very, very, very interesting from such a far... I very rarely say it from this far out, but I can already tell you next winter could be very, 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 very interesting. Maybe not from a temperature perspective, but from a storm perspective, I'm very fascinated to see. And there's a lot of different factors we're going to go into at the end of this stream. We'll kind of center it back for what most of my cult following is, which is winter weather. Because that's what I'm most passionate about. So, but you see these warmer waters, you can see a lot of this easternly. It's currently more east-based right now, but I don't think it will be an east-based El Nino eventually. I think it will be east-leading. I'm not sure it will be an east-based one, and that will be a huge difference between some of the analogs you see. Here's what I don't like. People pull up like the super El Ninos, the three of them that have happened in the past and modern recorded history, which are 82 to 83, 1997, 1998, 2015, 2016. all of which are not the same events of what we have now. We're in a completely different climate at this point, even just 10 years later. Yes, we're in a different climate. Global average temperature is up and is higher at this point, along with an array of different factors between the AMOC, which is just this area out here. Basically, you've heard about it. There's the current state of the Gulf Stream, which is connected to that as well. Teleconnections, the QBO, there's an array of different factors, and I'm going to have I built out some graphics for those as well. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here, is there's an array of different factors. So before people start, Kevin, how are we doing? As well, has been a minute. Hopefully you enjoy this. Again, for anybody curious, we're going to be diving into, be sure to hit the like if you don't mind as well. Consider subscribing, and be sure chat as much as you want. I will read them, I promise. There's not enough people for me to miss chats really that much here, so get them out, get your thoughts out. Send your reactions in the chat as well. Super chats are available if you really do wish to be the most generous, but are not required at all whatsoever. Along with channel memberships if you really want to show extra support as well. And the direct messaging factor on YouTube now can actually allow me to really help with some of those higher end memberships if you decide to do that. But in regards to the current El Nino building, obviously well above average, a lot of these anomalies, and eventually we're going to be working towards a strong and probably super El Nino territory eventually as well, and I'll have a good graphic for that. But notice, you see how much depth this has now. This really helps support a consistent El Nino to stay in place, if not build, which we're likely all but not likely going to see. And you can see these really, this is below the surface here, these really strong subsurface anomalies all across. Even it's started to build the last week or so across the western parts again of the Pacific, and this will continue to get pushed into our ENSO region. I really expect this to keep building here. You can clearly see anomalies are on the rise, and again, this is a good indicator to continue to expect Dunwell and Kelvin waves to keep moving through here. As you can see, look at this warmth moving through. Well, this is the Eastern Pacific, so obviously, but this is just basically showing that, hey, those westerly wind bursts are going to keep happening, and this is just going to continue to keep rising here over the summer. I mean, the values we're at are already kind of off the charts, to be honest. Not off the charts, sorry, but they're very notable. 3.4 region. Take a look, and I'll have a graphic for that as well. But you have all these different factors. You can see Niño 1.2. Look at this, nearly 3 degrees above average in Niño 1 and 2. That is very, very high. Very, very high. So we're already going to have some really significant impacts, if I had to guess, across these areas. I'd be concerned about not just coral bleaching, but some real significant impacts to the habitat across Western South America here. There could be some really notable impacts that we'll get into as well. Let me get back to the graphic here. So let me do the pen tool if I go full screen. Dang it. It will not. Still won't. So you're probably wondering, right? We have this El Nino in place. What does that actually mean, though? One thing you typically tend to see is Pacific jet extensions. So the Pacific jet is basically just the jet stream across the Pacific. It's we've talked about this before in regards to that. And this is a very, this is subjective at times. It depends on the teleconnections in place, the exact placement where the Pacific jet extension happens. But we tend to see a much more active Pacific, which creates an influx of warm air across. Well, so the PNA will be a huge factor to watch across this winter into the fall as well. But this is also something we could see potentially to allow, I think, severe weather to get active into the fall and late summer as well. If it's not going to be, I would expect it might take some time to see some of the effects, but I really do think that this could be more of an active severe weather season across these areas, maybe, potentially, across the northern and northeastern U.S., and I'm still not so sure about this about the plains. I think there could be some active periods, just like in any average severe season, but at the moment, I'm not so sure about it being a super above average severe weather season, although that is outside of my expertise, if I'm being fully honest. So what also do we tend to see is we also see an active subtropical jet. And anybody that was following along last winter or prior winters, it doesn't matter. Anyone knows anything about subtropical jet, that is a critical piece for forecasting storms. Subtropical jet being more active in because of El Nino, and ultra amplified subtropical jet with how strong of an El Nino that we're going to see. In the placement of the subtropical jet will be critical as well, and that will depend some on, are we going to be more east base, are we going to be more basin wide, could there be a bit of a Madoka hybrid, could we see some sort of hybrid El Nino? So that is something that we're going to have to watch. But typically, you have a more active subtropical jet stream, which is going to influx a lot of moisture across Mexico into the southern U.S. across. Again, that combine that with the Pacific jet extension, I'd expected a wetter western U.S. as well. Potentially southwest U.S. monsoon could be pretty active. We'll see. We'll see. There you could. Also have split jets so that you could be a little dry in between and wet across the northwest, the northwest Pacific region of the U.S. and British Columbia, and then an active southern jet across Mexico, across the Gulf and Florida, versus being more. But it can wait. There's some variance to it, depending on teleconnections in place, etc. And you can see as a result. That ends up leading to a wetter, stormier tendency across the central or the southern U.S. And then you can oftentimes see, because of that Pacific jet extension, albeit it tends to be warmer than average across this area of the Americas right here. Tends to be warmer than average. And what happens out east is really defined by some of the teleconnections. Okay, but there's variance to it. There's definitely some variance to that. I want to be clear, but oftentimes with such a strong El Nino too, it's very, very much a concern. And then also there's the risk for Eastern Pacific heightened rainfall, right? Because all of those bad tropical thunderstorms, right, across the equator that start shifting eastward helps increase that chance for more rainfall, more Pacific thunderstorms, and also, which I believe the next graphic will show. Oh, the next one will show it. And then we also have a concern for drought across a lot of these. A lot of these areas will rely on monsoon season for crops harvesting, so there's the risk definitely for significant famine. Again, these are around the world impacts that are very concerning potentially, given how strong all these get heightened even more. Albeit there's still some stuff we're yet to see in terms of how this will truly impact around the world, because I'm not sure if we have any reference point for an El Nino this strong, and also between the QBO, which we'll go into, and all the other teleconnections, where the basin warmth will be centered. There's a lot of different factors, I think, that will play into this, even though, again, we are east leading right now. But again, what I was also going to mention is Eastern Pacific, expect an active. You're already seeing it currently, some of the effects already. Expect an active Eastern Pacific and Central Pacific hurricane season. Expect an active Pacific hurricane season here across north of the ENSO regions. I would absolutely expect that. So Mexico, even parts of the southwest U.S. will have to be on guard for that, potentially for more influx of moisture. And again, when this happens, this allows potential for more moisture to work its way up. We're already kind of seeing that right now as we have a Central American gyre that's working over, and we have some risk for tropical threat potentially. I don't know formation, but an influx of tropical moisture we're going to see over the next 1 to 2 weeks really work its way. It's going to be hot and humid, guys, over these areas. Very humid across the central and eastern U.S. over the next couple weeks, if I had to guess. There could be some variation of that, but for all those World Cup matches, people are going to feel it. That's for sure. And then the Atlantic's vertical wind shear tends to be more active. And any of you that know about hurricanes, we talk about this all the time. Anytime you have lots of wind shear in the Atlantic, it's harder to get consistent tropical cyclone activity. Weaker wind shear is better, and we don't tend to see that in the Atlantic as much. However, the Gulf, Western Caribbean, and potentially the East Coast of the U.S. all still need to keep a close eye, potentially. These areas can still not necessarily be active, but can still be prone to more formation versus the classic MDR main development region getting suppressed. And so when we look at all these, again, teleconnections play a huge factor on exact placement, but these are all the different factors that we tend to see. There'll definitely be some concerns in terms of monsoon season being a very anomalous across Western Africa. That again, a lot of these areas rely on those tropical thunderstorms that produce those rains across the area. So we'll have to watch how that's affected across the African continent. There tends to be a little bit more variance with that, though, so we'll have to see the exact effects across there. But these are more given a lot of times. In El Nino, Australia as well, huge concern for drought concerns in Australia. That could have massive economic impacts. So these El Nino events, I want everybody to understand, they have huge impacts when you start talking about to this scale around the world, especially in the current climate state we're at as well. There is a lot of different factors that really suggest, not to fearmonger, but just like this is going to be a truly impactful event. Even if we were to miss the Super El Nino territory, we're already near the very strong category, which, in my opinion, I think we're almost certainly going to hit the Super El Nino. I would be surprised if we didn't, to be honest, at this point. But this is going to be a huge event across the world, not just across the U.S., but let you play out the graphic here. I'm really, I don't want to say concerned, but just yeah, it is concerning a little bit because this is going to impact a lot of people's lives across the world. It's a little less straightforward across the U.S. at times, and because it's a little bit different of an economy and a world. But remember, I don't want to get into politics. I'm not even going to get into politics, but there are multiple wars going on around the world right now as we speak, several. So combine that with El Nino, the economic impact could be very impactful. So to say, as dumb as that sounded, that didn't come out as good as I wanted it to. But keep that in mind when it comes to this event. So let's get to the next one that I wanted to show. So you're probably curious, why is it this one's going to be so special? So to say, what in the forecast is suggesting it? Again, you can see kind of cool in this graphic. So we'll get the real-time Niños. You can see nearly 3 degrees, like we mentioned, in Niño regions 1 and 2. Niño 3 about 1.65. Niño 3.4 1.45. Niño 4 1.3. So for reference, you have, once you get to 1 degree, or once you get to 1.5, I think it's strong El Nino, and then I think 2 they say very strong El Nino or super El Nino. Once you get to that 2-degree mark, so you can already see the current values. Again, these would need to sustain, if not rise, continue over several month period before it officially actually gets classified as that. So again, you need to sustain it in order. You can't just hit these value marks. However, that doesn't take away, just because it doesn't get officially classified, doesn't mean these value marks take away from it. Again, typically it tends to peak in the fall and winter too, by the way. So this is during the summer, which makes this all the more impressive. Play this back while I take a sip. Again, what I also think is different about this one is I do not think this will be a full east-based El Nino. I think it's going to be more basin-wide. I think it will get centralized and potentially eventually expand as well, especially with how much you're seeing. So we're seeing that, again, that eastern surge currently in the Pacific. So we're seeing that warmth in the eastern part of the Pacific right now really surging. It's leading fast. But again, I think once we get those periods where those westerly wind bursts maybe quiet down for a period, that will allow more of that basin warmth to get more centralized and expand out, and it will force that region to potentially level off a little bit more. And then eventually, I think that when we get to the winter, I think it could end up even being that the central and western regions potentially even take over a little bit more, which would lead to some sort of hybrid Madokai El Nino, so to say. It wouldn't be a full Madokai, but we could see where the central and western regions of the ENSO, central and western ENSO regions across the Pacific, equatorial Pacific, are a little bit more warmer than the eastern eventually. And that will be very, very important come wintertime. That will be important in terms of not necessarily, I don't want to go too much, but it will be, because this ENSO event is so, there's so much magnitude to this that typically we talk about the ENSO region, and I don't, I reference it, but it's not always the largest driving factor, in my opinion, in terms of specific impacts for a small region of the Northeast U.S. There's more things that go into factor, that play a factor. But in this case, this winter, this will absolutely be a significant driving factor, if not the largest by a good amount. Here's another reason. The warm water, like I was talking about, is so significant below the surface. I mean, those anomalies that we showed were really, really strong across the area. And you can also note that's the area where we're going to see that potentially upwelling and cooling respond faster. So again, like I said, that short-tempered person, it can rise really fast. That temper can, boy, it's a short fuse. But man, they can view it as a don't cancel me, but like bipolar person, right? Attitude can change very fast. You can get very depressed very fast, get very angry, get very happy, get a variety of where it's just basically like a different person, where it changes so much. The personality. I am not a mental disorder, or I'm getting myself into a hole here, but I'm not an expert on that stuff. I'm just giving you an example, an analogy. That's not exactly how it works. Go look up the World Health if you want that info. But my point is that eastern region has tended to change a lot more. So here's where it could stack up eventually. These are the current forecasts in terms of the lower to upper range that I kind of put together based on past history, and also some of the forecasts that you've seen in terms of some of those anomalies. Take a look. This was 1980. This is the 2-degree mark, by the way, for reference. So these are all the largest El Ninos in history that we've noted here. 2023, 2024 most recently, was also a pretty significant event, as you can tell. 2015, 2016, I believe, is the highest in terms of warmth at the 3.4 region specifically. And this is just measuring the 3.4 region. Surface temps, sea surface temps. 1997, 1998, 1982, 1983, and there was one in the 1800s as well. That was 1870, 1880, I forget when, but we don't have the specifics of all that because it's the 1800s. Versus more recently, over the last 40, 50 years, all these data points that we have, take a look. This is the likely range of forecast that we're expecting this to be in. The lower range that we're expecting this to be is Super Nino territory. It's fringe Super Nino territory. Very strong El Nino. I mean, that's kind of in terms of historical perspective to think that at the lowest, I mean, we're already what, 1.4, 1.5, and the 3 points. So yeah, kind of makes sense. And this is not even close to the peak time frame either. So just to put it, this is why this is so different than a typical El Nino, to put it in perspective. And then some of the factors that we could eventually see again. The typical response time, it typically takes a little bit for the atmosphere to fully respond, and so we'll really start seeing the effects of this El Nino in terms of atmospheric response across probably late summer, fall, and into next winter, into the spring. It depends on when it peaks too. That will all play a significant role. So I'll let this play out. But man, having graphics, I'm not used to it, but gives you good perspective here. Gives you good perspective. Again, be sure to hit the like if you don't mind. Consider subscribing. Want a membership to help support, yada yada, all that. Seinfeld episode, yada yada. Let's go to the next scene. So, there are an array of different factors of how this is going to impact next winter. I'm sure that's what a lot of you are curious by. All right. Let's see here. And boom. So we talked about it, the Pacific Jet extension. We tend to see that happen during the winter time. We also see the subtropical jet. And so this is an infuse of moisture across Mexico, across the southern U.S., and combine that with the Pacific Jet extension. We now have two significant moisture sources, which means big-time storm potential. Big storm potential next winter, I think, potentially. I think we could have, my hot take is I think we could have well, and this is not very nuanced, so take this with a grain of salt. Like, yeah, wintertime, a big storm, shocker. But my prediction is I think that there's going to be a significant snowstorm across this part of the country here, across northeastern, mid-Atlantic, southeast, Great Lakes region. I think there's going to be a big time blockbuster. That's not a hot take, really, to be honest. A wintertime storm, but we've seen some winters it doesn't happen. But I really think there's going to be at least one, maybe multiple significant storms. However, storm track is not locked in by any means, but again, like we're talking about, you get such an influx of moisture. You get an active subtropical jet, you get to tap into some of this Atlantic moisture when you get a trough dig deep enough, especially like we talked about Pacific Jet. You get an influx of moisture from different regions, and you get that pulls in warm air too, which can help create a significant clash. But again, your cold supply is really important. So if you have a large warm flux of air coming in, then that, unless you have the right pattern, the right blocking pattern, that can be hard to really mix out. And so storm track becomes critical. And then where's our blocking too, like I was mentioning. What kind of blocking will we have in place in the Atlantic? Could we have no block, very little blocking, so that, hey, if we do have this, we create this almost flatter zonal look, but amplified moisture, so that, hey, maybe blocking isn't needed. Maybe we limit some of the potential in terms of slowing down a storm, but that could allow us to at least get a storm track, as Tatum says all over the background. Tatum is my golden retriever, for those that don't know. But the storm track, who knows? We don't know yet. It's way too early. 4 months from now, let's revisit. And even then, it will be tricky. Like I said, storm track supplies the result. What access to cold air will we have? Could we have some southern sliders? We have a storm right up the coast. Cutters. We're probably going to have some cutters next year. Not going to lie. Strong El Nino. Very strong El Nino. Super Nino. I hope too, Chase, yeah. But again, this isn't based off hope. This is just based on what I'm seeing with the atmosphere. And I'm not guaranteeing that it will be on the snowy side of things. Typically, the coastal spots in a stronger El Nino like this get a little less unfavored, unfortunately. So interior northwest of 95, interior northeast Appalachians, Great Lakes probably will be a great spot to be. Midwest. However, location, specifics of the Pacific Jet, and how that at times operate will play a huge factor as well. But here's the big thing I'm watching. The QBO, which is basically just it's another oscillation. It's another we have this list of different teleconnections and patterns and oscillations that we watch for. Yeah, that could be better for you, actually. Penn State, you'll probably enjoy that a little. Although the Valley does get subsidence, I'll warn you on that. You might enjoy that a little bit more than coastal Connecticut, for sure, Chase. Even though coastal Connecticut can be fun, but coastal Connecticut hasn't been jackpotted in a long time, so a long time. So yeah, but the QBO. So basically, it's how do I simplify it for y'all? It's basically when we look at the equator and go, imagine we go higher up now in the equator, go a lot higher up versus the surface in the atmosphere. Those winds play a notable factor in terms of defining. They're connected to the Rossby waves that we watch for, dips in the jet stream, and a more easterly QBO. But let me simplify it like this for you. Basically, a easterly QBO is more favorable for winter weather across the central and eastern United States. A westerly QBO often less. And currently, the QBO is up in the air, basically, because a easterly QBO helps reinforce more typical cold air intrusions. It helps. Often we see more stratospheric polar vortex disruptions. We see more polar vortex disruptions. So yeah, I hope you do enjoy it, Chase. Should be. And Penn State it's a massive campus too. There's a lot to do there. Very, very cool spot. I've been several times before to State College, but the QBO is up in the air. We don't know right now if it's going to be more easterly. Is it going to be transitioning? Last year, I think it was in a transitioning phase, or was it easterly? I'd have to go back and look. It definitely wasn't. I think we were easterly. I want to say we were just barely easterly in the QBO. I think we were, but this will take some time to pinpoint. And because we have never had a easterly QBO when we have had a Super Nino. So think about that. All the Super Nino events that have happened that people keep referencing, we've never had a easterly QBO. We had a transitioning one in 2015, 2016. Anybody that remembers the 2015, 2016 winter was a tale of two halves. The second half of the 2016 winter was fantastic. It really was. Think about it. We had a historic blizzard happen. We had several snowstorms happen across New England and the Northeast. There were good snowstorms too. This is my new favorite website, actually. Anybody that doesn't know, I'm going to pull this up. And you're going to see a lot more of these. He's unbelievable. This person, he's gone back all the way back to the blizzard of '88. And he's got this running archive of winter storm maps for the Northeast region, for a part of the Northeast region. Let's see if we can go back here. Snowfall maps. Forward Northeast. Oh no, he doesn't have that. Just Southern New England. He's building them though. It's an amazing website. I'm sure you've seen me post these. I'm really enjoying it. JDJ Weather for curious, right? So we had the big blizzard of 2016. Sorry, it's not expanded, but then we had, look at it. We had that February snowstorm. I got a foot of snow out of this, believe it or not. Another great snowstorm. We had that 2016. We had another basically blizzard snowstorm. I kind of remember that one. Vaguely. Several snow events. Another snowstorm here we had in March 2016. Another snowstorm in April 2016, and another snowstorm in April 2016. We had multiple. You guys remember this when we had 2 snowstorms in 3 days? So look at that. So you're especially seeing late in the season. We had 3 snowstorms from March 20th to early April, and this was in a transitioning QBO. We had multiple snowstorms in February, and we had a major blizzard that unfortunately left me. I was right here. This 5-inch, that was for me too. I think I'm right here, and my total wasn't in there. But I had like 5.5. This right here, this total, you can see there's a bunch of 5, 5.5, 5.2, 5. I'm not sure about that 3. I'm not sure about that, but Boston 6, and you can see 12 to 18 across some of the coastal regions. But and then obviously the 30 to 40-inch totals that happened on that one. But so that was a transitioning. That wasn't even a full. That was transitioning from the beginning of the winter, or from the beginning of the fall, winter, to a westerly QBO, and then started transitioning. The other 2 winters that happened, and by the way, both produced big-time snowstorms. The 1983 winter did produce, let's see if we can find it, the Winter Storm Archive here. Let's see if we can find it. 82 to 83. Will it be out? There we go. See this? 1983. So this is the winter that Super El Nino happened. We had a major blizzard. East-based, I believe east-based. El Nino. I should double check that again after. But westerly QBO. Massive snowstorm still. 1997, 1998. Let's see if I can find that. The 96 blizzard. Find it. Geez, 1996 was such a crazy winter, man. Boom. Right here. is a little bit more interior, but there was a massive snowstorms as that winter. So this was more of an interior one, but still another example of a huge storm, right? We're talking about 1 to 2 feet of snow across Massachusetts in this one as well. And this was the largest. I think there were some other snows that season that was still below average. Again, both of those seasons I think were not insane massive seasons, but it doesn't mean you still can't get some good storms when it comes to those. And it's just too far to know exactly the specifics. And these were both westerly QBOs as well. There's some good reference points there to look at. But so keep that in mind. When it comes to, I'm sure you're going to see people already talk about next winter and say it's Joe over, it's blah, it's whatever. It depends on your perspective. It's not me trying to view it. It's literally like I just want there to be a more nuanced discussion, because typically people think strong El Nino and think it's impossible. Think about the last strong El Nino we had, by the way, I think it was a strong El Nino. Let me pull that up again. Remember, the 2024 winter was lackluster, obviously, but there was a significant snowstorm that winter as well. Let me find it. Remember this one a couple years ago? So another big time snowstorm. So I really think that we could have, we could have like a major Miller A snowstorm next winter. I really do. I think we could have a blockbuster, maybe multiple, depending on other teleconnections and how that comes into factor. Here's another thing. Let's deep dive into this now. So the AMOC, which is, let me get my good old pen tool. The good old pen tool here. This little blob out here, you see that? So that cooler water and reinforces oftentimes warmer waters across the western Gulf Stream. Or not oftentimes, the idea of the AMOC slowing down and this cooling is that often slows down the Gulf Stream a little bit, shifts this warmer water westward. So we could see some warmer average than sea surface temperatures again across this part of the Atlantic next winter. But last winter we had cold pool right here, so that kind of helped a little bit reinforce the sea surface temperature gradient to help make sure coastal places could consistently do well again and again. Which is why I'm also saying is we have a different sea surface temperature background, as you can note, across this region here than we've had in past El Ninos. This is why I'm saying the current state of climate and the current state of the atmosphere, the teleconnections, this is going to be different. We have 3 other reference points of super El Ninos. Think about that. Across hundreds of years of recorded history of the weather. It's not a lot. So those are the analogs people pull up. The problem with that is it's 3. It's just 3 different ones. In none of those 3 had an easterly QBO, which again maybe we won't have an easterly QBO, but I at least think we'll be close. If we're not easterly, I at least think we'll be close to either transitioning or just barely westerly in terms of the QBO. I don't think we'll have a strong westerly QBO signal, which we've had, I believe, in 82, 83, and 97, 98. And also, the subsurface engine and where it was building is a little bit different as well. And this one, and also you have to remember, it's a transition from a La Nina to an El Nino as well. It's a transition from a La Nina to a super El Nino, which, there's not a lot of recorded instances of that happening either. My point is, a lot of people are referencing the past, and that's great. That's what we record our science based off of. However, it doesn't always account for what's going to happen in the future. So this is where I say pump the brakes on all those specific stuff you see for next winter already. The only thing that I have any confidence in for next winter, not a ton, but I have some confidence a little bit, is I think it could be a big time Miller A pattern for storms. I really think we could have one, maybe multiple blockbuster snowstorms across the eastern U.S. Next winter. Will they be more cutters? That would be unfortunate. Well, we'll have to wait and see. And even if you do have a lot of cutters, doesn't mean you still can't get one of those just by repetition to eventually hit here, which 2015, 2016 we saw. You get one of those to hit, and all of a sudden your winter snowfall is set. So, on a surface level perspective, yeah, I would say next winter, based on where we're heading, likely will be warmer than average. It would be, I'd imagine we will likely be warmer than average in terms of temperatures. However, polar vortex is critical, and I wouldn't guarantee that either, by the way. I would not guarantee that at all. We're still in June. I hate winter forecasting in June. I hate contradicting myself, but it's very hard when you have a super El Nino to oftentimes just not be warmer than average across our area. Across much of the U.S., not just our area. A lot of the U.S. is oftentimes, maybe besides the southern U.S. But even then, the southern U.S. typically is just going to have a pump of heat and moisture, so I'd be surprised if they're not. Sorry, I'm not the southern U.S. I forget where I was trying to say. But, sorry, it's a brain fog effect there. That's my cop-out anytime I can't think of what I'm trying to say. But you clearly see the subsurface heat engine is just so impressive. So this is going to sustain. What we're going to keep seeing here is those anomalies continue to go up. Take a look. This is kind of the pathway to what where I think we could be focusing. Pacific jet extension, subtropical jet, very active. So it's happening into a lot of that Atlantic moisture and Pacific moisture. And then we got to watch, where does the cold air filter in from at times? Polar vortex disruptions are, in our current state of climate, more prone to happening more often, more frequently. So that will be something we're going to have to keep an eye on. We're going to have to keep an eye on, where is our high pressure going to build? Or will we be at a positive NAO, and it might be a faster storm track, but maybe that could work out in our favor. If the sea surface temperature gradient is built more offshore, slows down, lots of warm water to feed up into. But you have the polar vortex to the north overhead. You have cold air working down. It's maybe not the worst thing. Maybe we could get another January 26th setup. And ultimately, again, we'll see where the storm track is. My guess is you're going to get a mixed bag of all three of those different kinds of setups, potentially. And then we'll keep an eye, too. Good chance for warmer than average sea surface temperature across these areas, right, against the Gulf. That's a lot more latent heat that's being released into the atmosphere. So that latent heat, will raise the global temperature average, by the way, likely as well. It's going to be one of the hottest years around. That's another broad El Nino impact. It's going to be really hot compared to average. That's just the reality. That doesn't mean winter is going to be 90 degrees. No, it doesn't mean that, but it just means that compared to average, there's a good chance around the world it's going to be warmer. P&A will be important too, because we could have Pacific Jet extensions, but the curvature and the waviness to them and how strong in the placement will be a very notable factor too, which is why I'm saying polar vortex, QBO, sea ice content will all be factors to watch. Teleconnections are really going to drive the specifics of what happens in the wintertime. In my opinion, there is a range of outcomes for next winter in terms of snowfall, even temperatures. Like typically you're hotter than usual when you're in El Nino, but think about 2021. You get one massive polar vortex outbreak that skews your entire winter, and all of a sudden you may be closer to average or below average. So it's too early to specifically say exactly what's going to happen. Just as, but there's a little bit. I hope you guys enjoyed the graphics. We're not done yet. We got just a little bit more to discuss. I'll also give you a breakdown of the forecast for currently what's happening as well. I like this Cantori video there. But I really hope you guys have questions as well, maybe specific questions about El Nino. I know it's not a packed chat right now, but if you do have questions and you're rewatching this, put them in the comments. I will be happy to answer them as well. But I think this is a really interesting event in terms of weather, and that's why I wanted to cover it. I think this is going to be a historic El Nino event in terms of context. Again, this is my YouTube for those curious. You're on it right now. Let's get the pen tool back up here. And this is your El Nino region right here, your ENSO region right here. This is where El Nino is happening. You can kind of see it, where exactly that warmth is across the ENSO region. But there's an array of different factors that will all go into this. And I have a lot of different things to look at for next winter, eventually. But those will probably come more late summer into the fall, more so the fall, is when some factors will start being. We'll have a clearer idea likely when this El Nino is going to peak. Come the fall, it might peak in the fall. How many inches of snow is Manchester, New Hampshire going to see? I don't know. 387. There you go, Bobby. Enjoy it. Yeah. Again, I'm trying my best here to still put a lot of content. I've been really hard at work behind the scenes, guys. Really hard at work. Despite everything that I'm going through physically, health-wise, it's been really challenging. It's been really challenging to, like, what the heck is happening to my body? Like, what is going on? It's been really hard. It's been really difficult. Just you want to get up and move around, you just can't. Like, you have no energy. You're lacking a lot of ability. It's harder to sleep. It's constant stomach problems. There's just an array of different things that make this what's been going on really challenging. But I don't want to take the tone down. It's just I want you all to understand that I'm trying my best here to do what I can to hopefully give a good product and also just share what I'm thinking. That's really it. Be sure to hit the like if you don't mind as well, if you're tuning in, and let me know what questions about El Nino do you have. what questions about El Nino do you have for your area, for your your region during the winter, the region during the fall, severe seasons. What questions do you have? And I'll provide my thoughts, and then we can get into Twisted. We will get into some of the severe weather, and I'll give. I said I'm going to give a current forecast as well. Haywire. What's up? How you doing? Sounds rough. Well, it is severe long COVID is not fun. It's not fun, but I'm working really hard at recovery. So I'm doing a lot of between supplements and diet, red light therapy, infrared sauna stuff. There's a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of different stuff involved that you can do to help. A lot of different stuff you can take, try. I've been doing a lot of different stuff to help with that. So it's rough, but the dedication to trying to get better helps a lot. Helps a lot for sure. Will it be 75 on Christmas Eve again? No, it will be 83, actually, Twisted, I think. Or I should just call you Sebastian. You definitely get called Seabass by your friends, 100%. Unless you're like, don't call me that, or I'm going to punch you. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Sebastian. So, yeah, again, let me know you got El Nino questions and stuff. Hopefully that was a good breakdown. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And we can, because listen, this is just a start of what's to come here. Eventually these graphics are going to get even better. The stream quality is going to get even better as well. By the time next winter, I have so much planned. So much planned. Stream quality is going to get better. The streams just in general are going to be higher quality. I may have just repeated myself. Sorry. And we're going to have different types of reanalysis streams. We're going to have a Blizzard of 2026 reanalysis. We're going to have January 2026 snowstorm reanalysis. We're going to have December 2020 reanalysis at some point. All those graphics are going to be super cool. We're going to have eventually a new streaming version. We're probably going to be going to OBS or something else at some point, again, which will improve it. We'll have a new laptop or PC, mini PC. Haven't decided specifically what I want yet. That will help render better animation graphics and also improve, again, the stream quality as well. And then I think we're gonna have some just pretty good educational content eventually. So what is simple stuff, but it'll help expand the audience, because I really think I provide a much more nuanced approach than your typical YouTube weatherman or weatherwoman. So I think I offer a good perspective to help in hurricane season. Whatever is to come of that, we'll be forecasting that stuff as well. Stop spying on my life. Soon they'll almost be as good as my graphics. You have no animation graphics out right now, do you? Oh, here's another thing eventually I want to do. The snow maps eventually. I think I might be able to add some animation to it as well that make it look really cool. Also, another thing. I might be making my not necessarily a weather model site, but I'm going to help with the help of some coding in Python on AI. I'll be able to extract. I'm thinking about maybe extracting some of the data that comes from that and building a better, being able to build so that the weather model that you're seeing is more accurate. So being able to get more accurate snowfall totals potentially from models, being able to show where CSI is happening, slantwise convection we talk about. So EPV, measuring EPV levels. I'm going to get into this more eventually. I've been studying them. this spring and summer are very critical a lot of times for snowstorms. So we're going to be getting into all that good stuff. There's a lot of different stuff planned. A lot of it will be a lot of this will continue to be upgraded because I plan on expanding big time. I'm investing a lot of time and energy into this, and I think it's going to pay off. I already do. I'm just going to be refining it so it's even better. So I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes here. A lot of work. All those graphics, by the way, they were like 30, 40 seconds. Those took a combined about 12 to 15 hours to make. It was a lot of work. So I hope you enjoyed the graphics. But let's get into hold on. Let me lower the temperature in here. Mac is making me too hot. It's getting hot in here. I will not sing the rest of the song, but Nelly. Boom. No, I'm not a robot. How dare you? Sir, this is a Wendy's, not a robot. Ooh, look at that heat. Boy, oh boy. Oh, also, I think I gotta add a soundboard too. Wait, can I do that? Oh, I gotta like down the weight. Maybe I don't have to. This is ultimate internet brain rot right here. No. Not what I'm looking for. A lot of different things we're going to be adding. Okay. Let me go oceanic. No, don't do that. Top tier soundboard. Yeah, it's just more engaged. I want to provide. I think I need to do a better job at being able to expand to a wider audience. I don't. So basically, like making it so that most of my content stays basically the same. It's just adding a little extra content that is, or breakdowns or educational, like the educational stuff that I want to get into a little bit. Refining stuff, the graphics. Just tuning in people more so. Expanding the audience because I think we have an epidemic on weather YouTube, on weather in general. The over clickbait stuff, the ridiculous stuff that gets created. I think there's a space for me where people are kind of tired of that, and I can be a good source of information for hopefully people to enjoy and geek out too. Geek out. There's a lot of people that want to geek out about the weather. I think this is the spot to do it. I'm keeping an eye still on this spin. I'm keeping an eye on this. So this spin here in the tropics, I think it's worth watching later this week. It may run into Mexico before it can really organize much further, but it might get left behind. So you see all that remnant spin, all that low-level convergence being created off the Central American gyre, still really kind of floating in to that remnant area of spin. want to see if it gets left behind. You see all that moisture that's getting tugged in and pulled. There's going to be such an influx of tropical moisture that gets pulled up. So severe weather, be on the lookout for it over the next couple of weeks. It really could be an active northeastern U.S. severe weather pattern here over the next couple of weeks. I was looking at it. Very well could be. In every topic too. Plus AI videos are actually, this is AI. You just don't know it. No, I'm just kidding. But listen, I think AI is amazing. I really do. I think it's super cool. I think it's going to transform so much, and it's going to help improve so much. However, there are so many obvious flaws with the use of it, more so than anything else, and it's very frustrating to see. You know, it's annoying at times. Absolutely, nobody wants to see AI fake videos of stuff just for, unless it's like a comedic sense. That's really typically the only sense. Like maybe AI video for building a video presentation to really save time but still do it well. But you know, again, it's amazing. It's just, it depends on how you use it in your sense. Like people are complaining about the AI graphics that some people use. I personally don't care as much. The only AI graphic that I use, by the way, is those stream tonight. That's it. That's the and that's just because it's going to create it much cooler, and it's also, it doesn't really look that crazy AI. It doesn't look like an AI slop either. Just it's BGWX stream tonight with snow in the background. So that's really the only AI graphic you're going to see. Also, I don't really need to use AI graphics though either that much. Like those graphics I made were not AI generated at all. I used AI to help make them. So there's the difference, right? So it's not an AI slot graphic. I had to tinker with the code left and right. It was a lot of work to figure out how I could make the end product result and be able to turn out good. However, some people will just try to make it's here's where I think is where it goes wrong. It's the AI graphics that are inaccurate. Those are the ones I think are so annoying for people. It's not the fact that people make AI graphics. I think it's more so at times, not always, but at times also, that people make AI graphics and they're completely inaccurate. And it's like, why would you release that? If it's nowhere near accurate, like that's your reputation. You're making that. You're releasing that. So I think that you should always make sure what you're putting out is accurate. Otherwise, it's just stupid. What are you putting out for? And people aren't going to like it. So, AI is amazing. I love it, but I'm annoyed by it at the same time. Or I understand so many people's annoyance with it. I should better phrase it as. But I've used it to help me learn so much, a lot of things. So it depends on how you use it. That's the key. Yeah, we gotta watch, because here's why all this AI talk, switch it to precipitation talk. Let me tell you. Ooh, boy. Look at all of this. These are PWatt values. I mean, 2.5 plus degrees. Anywhere in red is 2. So this is the current severe setup with PWatts over 2, by the way. So that gives some perspective on why we saw such a prolific outbreak today of severe weather. I mean, 2+ degree PWatts. Fantastic moisture. Moisture is critical. Friday, look at the PWatt levels. Over 2 potentially. So that's why the moisture on Friday severe weather is probably going to be pretty solid. If I had to guess, that's one of the limiting factors a lot of times in Northeast severe weather setups is being able to max out those instability, moisture, and wind shear values. Fantastic moisture in place. I think there's going to be some. Let's take a look at. My lawn is going to be green. Yeah, we're going to get some people that have been in drought stuff lately. I think we're going to solve some stuff there over the next couple weeks. Not for everybody, but for some at least. Let's take a look Friday. Yeah, especially in the morning. It's okay. It's not bad. There's some wind shear present here to work with. But you got your shortwave to the north here on Friday. That's kind of working up. So that's another thing I like is we're going to be pulling in moisture. So let's take a look at the surface winds. Some surface winds, but mainly after the system. So I wouldn't expect too much turning, veering of the winds. I wouldn't expect a significant tornado threat on Friday. However, Sunday, take a look at those surface winds. 10, 15 plus miles per hour out ahead, coming from the south. Look at the shortwave too, the positioning, amplifying shortwave. Let's take a look at P watts as well. Solid. Look at the moisture tongue as well. That's one thing I want to watch for Sunday is what does this moisture tongue look like? Typically, this northern edge here of the like this northern edge is typically where a lot of times you can see severe weather. That northern the northern tongue. See 2 points. Yeah, you see that? So I'd be curious. I'd be curious into this region here, potentially, especially for tornadoes, Sunday. And we kind of revamp here. So I mean, late next week could be real. We could be looking at more. We could be looking at more severe weather. Not impressed. I'm not ridiculously impressed. I don't think tomorrow's going to be a significant day, but yeah. Oh, did I make it? Hey, that lets you know the skill is there, Twisted. That lets you. I'm gonna Seabass you. I think I have to give you the Seabass treatment. I think that's necessary. Especially when you start acting up in the chat, I think Seabass will be required. But let me get to. Is there a certain surface? Well, let's look at the instability. Well, instability is going to be there tomorrow. Yeah, I like Sunday, and I think next week is really interesting as well. When we get to surface precipitation, why is there no reflectivity? Yeah, have a good night, Haywire. If you did miss anything, you can rewind to the beginning when we were talking about the specifics of El Nino. But now we're kind of just having our fun here with the current forecast. Let's take a look at the RGM off screen again. Because the RGM for last event, by the way, did really well. RGM says your area could get some storms tomorrow. I wonder if anything gets a little bit further north, where some of that better wind shear is. I do wonder. I do wonder. Not gonna lie, I might enjoy this more than the snowstorm stream. You enjoy me pinpointing severe weather. Those snowstorm streams hit like white powder, man. They hit hard. But what did I want? I wanted this. This website made by Andrew Brady is really fantastic. Another Brady member. Just last name, first name instead. First wind. I really don't want radar. I forget how to operate the site again. Thought you was watching, wasn't familiar with your game. Gonna learn today. Let's see. I really don't want the reflectivity. Oh, will this go when I play it for? No, I'm really trying to play the wind risk. What did I do wrong again? Maybe I should have clicked the tutorial because that was risk. There we go. Yes, these are 1 hour probably. So by the way, if you use this site, the 1 hour probabilities. Oh, of course I do. Especially chasing. Like I'm not as good with severe weather, winter weather. So like if I just need some like clear cut, like hey, I need to get to an area. I just want to see if I can see a cool storm. Like I don't necessarily have all the time to build out hand-drawn targets and stuff like that. I could. It's a very time-consuming. And a lot of those people that do that are strict severe weather people, and I'm not. So, Western Connecticut, Mid-Atlantic, it's but you still might get a good rainfall there. Sebastian. You still might get something there. Maybe. 4 to 5 p.m. tomorrow. Let's see. Around 6 or 7 p.m. Could go there. I understand you just don't want it bad enough. I want the storm. Like, I care. Like, I feel like Northeast storm chasing. Like, there's only. It's not like the plains where like you got to choose a target on one of these days across 1,500 miles. The target is here. You're already in the target zone if it's happening. Just find the right storm is all it is. Really, what it comes down to. Let's see if there's if it's picking up on the tornado risk. It would be so small if there is any. It's up in like northern. There's barely anything. Maybe you could get a good shelf though. But here's where things we're talking about, right? Sunday's a higher impact day. But look at that, the tornado props. These are 12-hour periods, so it's going to be a little larger versus the 1-hour ones. But take a look at the tornado props. These are some of the higher ones I've seen across this area here. I might be having to dry. I hope this moisture dives up a little bit further north, so I don't have to chase as far. But if I decide to chase, but those are some pretty impressive tornado probabilities for this far out too. And then look at wind; these are even higher than I think last night. Wind probabilities are good up north. But take a look. Pretty high impactful severe weather day across the East Coast. So yes, the Eastern U.S. I do believe this is in the Eastern U.S. So Sebastian, you're worried about it, but this is going to qualify. No, you will not see me flying, but you will. I storm chase on hoverboard now, so. If I get struck by lightning on the hoverboard, too bad. But I got a much more direct route now. And then also, just look beyond. You can kind of keep playing this out. This is what I'm talking about. Later next week. Could be more severe weather to watch. But I love this site. The accuracy, too, is pretty good. Pretty solid. It's high for that far out, but we'll see. It's just the problem, though. At the same time, using this in the long range, it's just going off straight model guidance. A lot of it too. A lot of the data gets ingested, so not always the most perfect. But I want to see how much moisture we can kind of tap into. Let me get the ensemble. I want to get the average more a little bit. Let's see. doesn't even AIFS operational pulls it up more than the ensemble, but we get to let's get a little bit higher res. Ooh, the Euro, very interesting with the moisture tone. Let me go to boy, our brand new Rufus model. I don't trust that in the long range. It's not brand new, but I don't hate all these models. I don't trust them all. I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. And the IFS is such a low res model. Weather models, man. Weather models. Not a fan of them. Not a fan of them right now at all. For some time. And there also is some risk for hail, by the way. There could be some small hail tomorrow. Tomorrow PM, be on the lookout first, because there is some pretty decent instability with tomorrow as well. So there could be some notable hail. I wouldn't expect too large, but you know, could be some hail up to 1 inch in size potentially, maybe a little more. It's not impossible. Really look at the light. May not be a bad tool to use if you're trying to storm chase. Look at that, 90 out of 100% probability that Saturday there's going to be lightning in this area. Oh, where's my Sunday? Oh, there we go. Woo! See, this is why I want the soundboard. So when I look at this, I go, Lil Jon, yeah, play that right there. When you see a schmexy model run in the wintertime, yeah, you just play it right there. But what was I gonna say? One of the reasons why I was interested, I was noticing, I was gonna post something about it earlier, and I was like, I guess not, I won't do it. One reason I like Monday Sunday is you see we're at the kind of the tail end of this big low pressure system. We have another one kind of secondary forming here, and so it's a great way to pull up moisture, get really well into the warm sector of a storm, and the warm sector of a storm is usually where your most active thunderstorm activity is, but also see revolving around that big upper level low up there, you're going to pull in more moisture, and you'll see that storm track, kind of that same storm track we saw this winter. We'll probably continue to see it more into the summer. We won't really see this probably start changing, or it could be different evolution or variation, but we'll see. Maybe there's still some truth to how this comes into the next winter, and if that were the case, that wouldn't be the worst thing. But what I see here is that this next week, anytime I see a 990s low in southern Canada, I go, that's a severe weather setup for the Northeast. That is certainly a severe weather capable setup. With the moisture pull that I was talking about, we're going to have from up here, so that's something I'm very curious about, especially if we pull in more moisture earlier on. Then that could just be a big storm in general with severe weather We'll see. It's going to be wet the rest of the week into next week across a lot of the central and eastern United States. Humid probably too. Let's go to 2 points, or let's go to relative humidity. Oh, yeah. Guess what? U.S. team though chose the perfect spots. U.S. team is on the West Coast during this time, so they're going to stay nice and cool and dry, relatively speaking. Maybe not cool, but central and eastern U.S. All those teams playing from Houston to Boston, oh boy, they're going to feel that heat and humidity. Whew. Look at these relative. I mean, it's 200 plus hours out, but still. Again, it's not unusual when you start even, it doesn't mean, even though the atmospheric, how do I put it? The atmospheric consequences, the atmospheric effects, are often delayed. The atmospheric response usually delayed a little bit. It doesn't mean you still can't start having effects, because we have started seeing this ocean warmth building for some time now over the last several months. So it's not it's not like El Nino just started technically, even though officially it did. We had our first El Nino advisory. Oftentimes you see, right, thunderstorm, warmer sea surface temperatures across these areas here, and you see more thunderstorm, more rising motion across these areas. So a lot of times you get an influx of moisture that gets brought in, and if you still have a northern jet that's still going, like we kind of do, with what's left over from the last year, really last couple of years, kind of, to be honest. That's what I'm also saying, is if you have a somewhat active northern track that can have some access to polar air next winter, that makes it kind of interesting. But also pull this in across, and you're going to get jet stream to meet up with the moisture pull, and that's why I think that across, especially as we get later, across June, July, and August, I think there could be a fair amount of severe weather chances across a lot of these places here. Doesn't necessarily mean a ton of high-end setups always, every time, but by repetition you could. Again, and I just mean that in general. Basically what I'm saying is I don't think it's going to be below average, a very below average severe weather season across these areas for the rest of the summer. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Start dabbling into more long-range severe weather forecasts more. The plains, I don't know as much. This is it's up in the air. Prime chase area, this is a little bit more up in the air. I'm not as certain about that. But that's kind of those are kind of my thoughts I have. I want to know what do you all think? What do you all think? What do you think about El Nino? Speak freely. Speak the mind. Do you have questions? Do you have thoughts? Anything about the atmosphere that I missed that you want me to discuss? Again, we're going to be in the future too. The reanalysis streams. We're going to be doing the Blizzard of 2026. Boy, have I been putting in a lot of work with that one. A lot of work. I've been researching that one a lot. I keep trying to go, like, part of it is just coping for me, because I was 10-15 miles away from seeing a 30-inch snowstorm. So yeah, I like to figure out what, and it was very likely that it was going to happen. The NBM had me getting 30 to 36 inches. Again, you know how I feel about models, but there was a little bit of a model failure in regards to that storm. absolutely in the short range. So very minor one, but still notable. So I've been kind of pinpointing pieces. Why did the banding, even when out of the heaviest part, still get so heavy? You know, why were the snow rates still so impressive in northern Rhode Island, away, not even fully in the heaviest part of the bank? So you'll get a stream at that at some point. You'll get I think I want to do a December 2021 at some point too, and I definitely likely get a January 2026 one. Probably no winter stuff yet. It's just not. That's just like kind of provided some thoughts now. Maybe an El Nino update going forward, but I think I probably want to do some educational stuff as well. And especially winter educational stuff, but hurricane educational stuff as well. Be able to incorporate some new graphics. Again, really just want to keep growing the space. I think it's regardless. You guys know in the wintertime we're going to break down in hurricane season. We're going to break down all that stuff, but I want to keep growing. Let's get bigger. You know, I think I want to be able to I want to increase the profit that I can throw back into this channel. I want to keep saving money and being able to put it back into this. That's kind of what I want to do. I want to upgrade the product for you all, basically. What I want to do. May 27th, 2024. Oh, I don't do severe analysis that much, but I don't know if you'll get that. You could get some thoughts on that maybe, but I don't remember that event that well either. Oh, that's the day you saw the tornado, I'm guessing. How do you think I feel? I don't know how. Oh, because you missed out on the blizzard of 2026, Twisted. Well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't bust. It wasn't a bust of a storm. It just I missed out on the heavy. I was right on the edge. It's just 2 storms now. It's just 2 historic blizzards in the last 4 years that I have now been edged on the. I've been on the edge of. And that's such a tease. That's such a tease to be able to be stuck like that. This last one I posted. You're adding me? Come on, I'm the owner. Go ahead and check this out too. This was Blizzard of 2022. I don't know why it keeps taking away. I swear I've had 400 or 500 views on this video. It takes away. I don't know why. It's just taking away my views. YouTube. So annoying. So annoying. I got 22 from that one. Well, that's pretty solid because you did get into the band Celtic Supreme. I'm guessing you're on the south side of Boston. What, southwest side of Boston, maybe? Quincy, right? Are you Quincy? So yeah, Quincy too. You were right on the gradient. You were so close from getting 30 plus too on that storm. But I mean, come on, take a look at this. I'm like right here. Somewhere close to... Wait, maybe just west of there. Yeah, I'm like right here. In this area right here. So, hold up. No. There we go. It's just a tease job. That's just that's getting teased again. Amarillo, 2022, the most snow I've ever seen. I'm close to Quincy, just over the line in Boston. I know Logan is not the same spot, but Logan measured like 17 point something. I was kind of surprised. I thought Logan would be more in the 18 to 20 range, to be honest. Like just based on how long they were in like those blizzard conditions, those 2+ inch per hour rates for that long. Like I thought low, but maybe being right on the shoreline, literally in the ocean, basically. I thought they would maybe they get some more flakes break up. Um, but man, I mean, look at this. I just get in this 3 to 5 inch per hour rates right here almost, and I'm just getting teased the entire time. But I did get lucky because look at this band that ended up forming. So I still ended up with 19 on that one. It was like the biggest. It was like the Knicks game last night. It was so over, except I don't know. There's not you can't tie in basketball, but imagine I guess soccer, or football. Um, Imagine like you're down 3-1 with like 30 minutes remaining, and then all of a sudden like boom, you end up drawing. So you don't win the game, but you walk away with a draw. And it also, it's not like it wasn't like it literally almost all the short range mezzo guidance was trying to show this band working all the way back into here. And I kind of explained it in this one, but this was basically like this is actually kind of where the deformation band was trying to form initially, but the double barrel nature couldn't get all those best dynamics consolidated. So this is you can kind of see it, right? This is basically the entire band here. That's basically it. It's just an area of subsidence in between, and it eventually got there, but this really all wanted to happen. Rhode Island would have got way more crushed. Eastern Connecticut, boy oh boy, they got crushed, and they would have signed probably 30 plus. I mean, this all would have been 2 to 3+ feet instead of like this one area of like 18 to 30. Logan is always way off from your location. Yeah, it's the case with many. But that's the one thing I'm glad about with the blizzard of 2022 is Boston did not bust. They were on the lower end maybe of compared to these totals across here, but they did not bust. There was still, it was still a solid, I would say a solid anywhere from 17 to obviously 22 plus, close to 2 feet. So like in the 16 to 24 range for that, for the Boston area. And I was very happy that it worked out for that. But I'm still so mad. About letting down the forecast for these areas here. It still kind of worked out in Western Connecticut, so I was happy about that. Western Connecticut actually got crushed by the back edge of that deformation band would not move. The initial one, it just sat there. So I was kind of happy about that, but it was such a good forecast, everything else in that blizzard, but it was like a C- level snow map. So I was, and if you are curious about the blizzard of 2026, in case you missed it, this video is absolutely worth checking out. By the way, eventually we'll have a whole reanalysis on the blizzard of 2026, but come on. It's my own video. Add me again. But this is a good video of breaking down broke down one of the soundings from before the storm and kind of why it was so prolific of a storm. There's a lot of perfect things that went into what happened in the column, but let me go here too. So we're not kind of having fun, but definitely have to timestamp this because nobody wants to go watch a 2-3 hour stream. Yeah, I messed up. I didn't mess up that. I didn't mess up the southern Berks. I did mess up here. I had this 8 to 16, like 5 to 10. I think I had all of this 10 to 20 inches. And you can see there's some, but if I'm forecasting double digits, and this is more like a 4 to 8, that's not going to cut it. And then I had, this is where I was forecasting. And others too, so I wasn't alone. I mean, the NBM you saw had it, but I was forecasting this to kind of be the area more. Turns out I had too much faith in model guidance and orographic placement. There's a lot of factors we're going to go into. There's a lot of factors. But, and obviously, brutal sharp gradient too. So that band that got out to Philly the night before, so it got out to Philly, so Philly got into the good stuff. And then, like I said, what was going to happen is it was going to meet its western edge. Anybody west of that western edge was going to get screwed, basically. And that's kind of it. It kind of worked like this. It kind of expanded out. But obviously, crush job, Central Jersey, Long Island, to Westchester County as well. And then no other way to put it, this was a generational blizzard for these places here. Generational event. Widespread 30 to 40 plus inches of snow. Generational. So I never really got a chance to give some closing thoughts to that, but we'll have a full reanalysis on that, and we'll break that down. So you can see all these different zoomed in. I really love this site. See full radar there. Again, I'm like right in here. Great ocean convergence bands, but look at that. I mean, come on. That's such a tease job. It's such a tease job, man. You can kind of see Philly get into that band initially overnight, too. Boom, switch to snow. Band gets to Philly. So Philly gets like 10 to 18 inches of snow still everywhere east of that. But it didn't make it to this part as much. See that? Band never really made it past here. And then Western Connecticut, this edge of the deformation band just kept sitting there. See that right there? Boom. Just sitting. And that was all she wrote. Alright, that is all I got for the stream tonight. I appreciate you all tuning in. I'll add timestamps to this so you can all, when you rewatch it, you can go back. I hope this was all informative. You enjoyed it. So you know what El Nino is. You know what we're looking for. You know what we're watching. You now have stuff that you can kind of pinpoint. You have an idea what I'm looking at. This was all just a good breakdown. It was more, it was a good time between the deep end science and some some broad educational information too on what is El Nino. So hope you all enjoyed it.